Welcome to the Republican Professor. I'm your host, Dr. Lucas J. Mather. It's 6 July, 2025 years after Jesus. I preached this morning in church. Was happy to see some friends there. Big shout out to Joe Lang, Joe and Christina Lang, and their children, Ivy and Titus. Now you're famous. I'm reading today from the Claremont Review of Books, Fall 2024. I get the hardcover edition. It is a delightful publication. I highly recommend it. Go to Claremont Review of Books' website and order. It's got wonderful artwork and very thoughtful essays that are accessible but rigorous. And this one's by Charles Kesler. Charles is one of the people I had in graduate school. I took 4 courses from him at Ph.D. level at Claremont. And Charles Kesler is a guest on the podcast. He writes America's Red Shift. Wonderful essay. He's one of my favorite writers in American politics. I'm going to do a thoughtful reading of this. We're going to do a fair use, transformative reading. Appreciate Claremont Review of Books for making this material available. Go to Claremont Review of Books' website and order a join, and for a very small price, less than $30, I think, you get these wonderful things sent to your home. And it's something that you can, enjoy. Let me show you the artwork, for example. They do have ads. This is for Hillsdale. Take that as a good a good sign. But here's like an example of the artwork. Here's the front part. It's Zoom is fighting me on this. Trying to keep my background private, So I have the obscured, but yeah, I think you get the idea. Donald Trump and the Republican Party had a triumphant election day, says Kesler in his first sentence, gaining ground in all parts of the country and among almost all voting sectors. He won all 7 of the ballyhooed swing states by comfortable margins, except in the blue wall states of Wisconsin, where his margin of victory was just under 1%, Michigan 1.4%, and Pennsylvania 1.8%. Still, he won all 3 blue wall states twice, in 2024 as in 2016, something no Republican has managed since Ronald Reagan. Taking a sip of Writer's Tears Irish whiskey, not a paid sponsor, and my stick tonight is Havana Nights, Connecticut. I'm trying it out, my first time having it, so also not a paid sponsor. Trump regains office alongside a Republican-controlled Senate and House of Representatives, to the trifecta of what political scientists call undivided government. Not enjoyed by Republicans since the first not enjoyed by Republicans since the first 2 years of his own first term. President Reagan never enjoyed the luxury of having both legislative houses under friendly partisan control at the same time. Part of what made his victory in 1980 such a breakthrough was the unexpected 12 GOP senators who rode in on his coattails. One of those, incidentally, was the friend of my grandfather's, Bill Armstrong, from Colorado. They restored Republican control of the Senate for the first time since the 1954 election. They lost it again only 6 years later in the election of 1986, The party never controlled the House of Representatives under Reagan, though enough conservative Democrats held office to lend the GOP an operational majority sometimes. Nonetheless, this has a good plume. I'll give you that. It's got a good plume. Yeah, I I'm enjoying a California evening. The sun is setting. Got the waterfall on. Spa's on. I like the sound of the spa too. Palm trees. You know, I can't do this all the time out here, so I'm enjoying it. Hope you had a great 4th. Nonetheless, the age of Reagan, as Stephen F. Hayward called it in his epic 2-volume Life and Times of the Gipper, and I got to get that, proceeded more or less smoothly despite the liability of having divided government in Washington, D.C. That had something to do with the dimensions of Reagan's victory in 1980. He won the popular vote with 50.7%, which sounds won until you consider he had to battle not only Jimmy Carter, 41%, but also a strong third-party candidate in John Anderson, 6.6%. How many of you guys remember that? I don't, because I was in kindergarten. But Kesler is here to tell us. Without any strong third parties in 2024, Donald Trump won the popular vote. Some of it is still being counted, and this is as of fall 2024 publication. So, you know, we're looking back by a slightly lower percentage, 50%. I think it's gone down a little bit. Reagan's victory in the Electoral College was hugely impressive. 489 electoral votes compared to Jimmy Carter's 49. Jeez. Reagan won every state but 5: Minnesota, Georgia, West Virginia, Maryland, and Hawaii. That's a shocker. By contrast, Trump in 2024 earned a solid 312 electoral votes from 31 states compared to Kamala Harris's 226 from 19 states. That's scary. And the District of Columbia. Trump's margin, though laudable, falls about in the middle of the pack historically, lower than Barack Obama's. For example, in 2008 he won 365 electoral votes, and 2012 Obama won 332 in 2012. The next section, this is in sections. It breaks it up. That's kind of nice. It's got good artwork here. I don't know if you can see the map there of increases Republican states. It's got the map of the entire United States, and Republicans gained everywhere. Everywhere. Okay. All right. We're not going to do this whole thing today, but we'll do a little bit more, and I'll pick up later next time. By the numbers alone, therefore, it is difficult to tell if America stands on the threshold of a historic political realignment, the age of Trump. Patrick Ruffini, the Republican pollster and political analyst, pronounces boldly the realignment is here. Did you see that plume? Havana Nights is pulling through, I think. This Connecticut. On his blog, Kesler continues, he proffers as evidence the first GOP popular vote win in 20 years. Though, as the votes are tallied that may slip below a majority, the big shifts in the educational and class makeup of the parties, and the Republicans' capture for the first time of both low education and low income voters, which he calls a thoroughgoing working class realignment. But then he explains that 2024 was as much a realigning election as 2016, which was certainly not a textbook realigning election. Trump's breakthrough in 2016 was stunning, but it did not lead to the GOP becoming the national majority party. The Democrats won back the House of Representatives in 2018, the presidency in 2020, and the Senate in 2020 through 21. Unless Ruffini is being ironic about 2024 being as much a realignment as 2016, he seems actually to be making a different and more plausible point, more cautiously expressed in his 2023 book, Party of the People, that a national realignment may have begun, but still has considerable way to go before it can be confirmed and added to the history books. And then he says, see Bill Vogeley's Life of the Party, spring 2024. By the way, William Vogeley, I think, is my favorite writer on American politics. Kesler would be a very close second. They might be tied. I don't know, but they're both very good. It will take at least 2 or 3 more electoral cycles to establish, for instance, that the Republicans will be able to retain and expand their now quite narrow margins of control over the House and Senate. Although it is always tempting for politicians and analysts to define realignment downward, absent such a dominant legislative record, the GOP will not look like the majority party familiar from American history. The Democrats before the Civil War, the Republicans after it, the Democrats during and after the Great Depression. I hope you're paying attention to this, because you have to look at history. You have to look at it. Nevertheless, Kesler, Ph.D. from Harvard, solid scholar. You want to pay attention to what he's saying. Nonetheless, something does feel different about the 2024 cycle. This is an excellent piece. Excellent. For one thing, this is Trump's 3rd election in a row as the presidential nominee of his party. It is highly unusual for, I'm on the next page, page 7. It's highly unusual for a major political party to entrust its nomination to the same candidate more than twice. Fantastic point. And in fact, Kesler, you have inspired me, brother, to pull this up and read it, because I think it's available publicly. Let me just see. Bear with me for a secchi little wecky. Oh, man. I just saw something funny. Okay, let me share my screen. I'm hoping that we can get this whole article for free. I mean, I paid for it, but I'm hoping that we have... This is the latest. It's a very attractive website. There's Charles right there. I have to admit that I haven't pulled this up. Let me go ahead and let me tinker around with this for a sec.
Recording in progress.
Okay. I was right. It is available, and I'm going to show you how to get it. Okay? They leave some of this open for people to see, so that if you're thinking about subscribing, you can find out what you're. So what I did was I searched Red Shift in the search bar, and this is on the website Claremont-Review-of-Books.com, and these are the results. This is the one I'm reading right here, America's Red Shift, Fall 2024 issue. Now Who's on the Wrong Side of History is the subtitle. This is the artwork I was mentioning earlier about the map. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll down. This is an excellent article. I'm not quite too fries with that. Kesler's actually really funny too, I think. I don't know if he means to be funny, but I think he's kind of funny. Bill Vogley is hilarious. So, I mean, if you want to learn something and laugh at the same time, I'm all in on that one. I don't know about you. I think we need more fun in politics, not less. Okay, here's where I was, nonetheless. Right? Okay, yeah, I was a little bit further down there. It's highly unusual. This is where I was. It's highly unusual. Now that's a great point. Can you think of any example in American history? Maybe George Washington, but George Washington is highly unusual. He was unanimously elected president. I don't think that's ever happened since. He could have gotten a third term if he wanted. Well, I guess Franklin Roosevelt, obviously. I don't know if I can think of another one. William Jennings Bryan? How's he put it? It's highly unusual. William Jennings Bryan. Maybe he was 3 times. I can't remember. Okay. Let's keep going. Good point. Okay, in recent decades, Richard Nixon is the only other example of a 3-time nominee. In recent decades. That's the key paragraph there. In recent decades, it's Richard Nixon. 60, 68, 72. Though his candidacies were not successive like Trump's, Trump won narrowly in 2016. About 80,000 votes across 3 states made the difference. He lost narrowly in 2020. Hold your commentary. About 40,000 votes in 3 states separated him from Joe Biden. Mr. Joe, 81 million Joe Biden. Yeah. Okay. That's the official narrative. Kesler's just giving you the official one, okay? He's not going to... He's going to give you a safe answer there, okay? And won commandingly this time around. His first 2 elections in effect posed the question, which was the anomaly, Trump's winning or his losing. This year looks to have settled that question. Remember, this is in 2024. This year looks to have settled the question. 2 wins now, a narrow and a big one, will probably set the parameters of his place in history. Only he and Grover Cleveland have managed to retake the presidency after losing it for a term. Incidentally, I hear that Troy Senik has a wonderful book on Grover Cleveland. You might want to check it out. He was the host of Law Talk podcast for a long time. Great sense of humor. I highly recommend that podcast, by the way. In particular, Trump's peaceful and sweeping second victory and what he does with it give him the chance to reduce the lingering infamy of January 6th riot at the Capitol as the culminating and telltale moment as his detractors consist of his political career. After his victory, Kesler continues on page 7, in 1980, Reagan still had a constitutional option to run again, which he did, racking up an even greater margin of victory in 1984, standing 525 votes in the Electoral College and 58.8% of the popular vote. Wow. Man. That was a great year. That was a great year. Unless the American people repeal the Constitution's 22nd Amendment, the 2024 presidential election will be Donald Trump's last. Everything he hopes to accomplish as president, he has to do over the next 4 years. At 78, he's also the oldest person ever elected to the presidency. I really think that this right here, let's camp out here for a sec. I don't know, I've never seen anybody with as much energy as he has at that age to do what he does. I don't know who could have done that. What he went through, and I don't know if you noticed, but you notice he's sitting down more. Did you notice that? He's still sharp as a tack, but he's sitting down. And I don't mean sharp as a tack any other way than exactly what I just said. He's sitting down more, though, I've noticed. Everybody's standing around him, he's sitting down, and that's fine. Yeah, sit down. I want you to last. You got to last till you're 82, buddy. Take a seat. Get some sleep, man. Holy cow. But he's pushing all out. He does not want to accompany Joe Biden in future school children's dim recall of those elderly presidents of the 21st century. To put it ungraciously, the constitutional and biological clocks are ticking. The speed and decisiveness of Mr. Trump's current presidential transition process are likely spurred by these looming countdowns. To his enemies' consternation, Trump has made himself the dominant political figure of the age, not only in the United States, but also, and not metaphorically merely, in Europe and elsewhere. This is very important. I hope you're listening. He hasn't accomplished this by persuading his critics with eloquent words and deeds of a classic statement, but by dominating the imagination of friend and foe alike. See Christopher Caldwell's Speaking Trumpian in this issue. I haven't read that one yet, but Caldwell's book, The Age of Entitlement, excellent analysis of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Excellent. Goldwater, if he had been elected, man, he would have hired Caldwell. He'd been the #1 speechwriter. Excellent. They can't get him out of their heads, which is the way he likes it. He monitors the zeitgeist. He monitors the zeitgeist with all its contradictions and tensions. Yeah, that's for sure. I think he was trained well doing The Apprentice. We're watching The Apprentice on Amazon right now. I'm so glad it's on. By the way, why did they not have it on for his first term? Well, I think you and I both understand why. Why did they not have it on in 2021 after he so-called lost? Yeah, I think you understand that too. But now that he's won a second time, Amazon has The Apprentice on. Shocking correlation. Because if you watch that show, you can see a future president at work. You can see how he's being trained. He understands the media. He understands ratings. He understands dominating a news cycle. Incidentally, I'm going to plug another podcast. I don't get paid for this. I'm just telling you what I think and what I think about. Tom Woods and Bob Murphy had this podcast called something about Paul Krugman, Contra Krugman. It stopped, I think, in 2020, 2021, something like that. It ran for like 5 years, 2015 to 2020. And and it's excellent. It's an excellent podcast. I just listened to the one. I started at the beginning, and I listened to the one in 2016. I think it was in the middle of June somewhere. Or no, it was. I think it was the first July one, July 5th. I think it was. That's an excellent episode because they're talking about Trump and the GOP, and they're talking. It's fresh in 2016. Sorry, July 5th, 2016. I should have said. It's fresh. It's right before the conventions. And they're reacting to Trump just taking out all the GOP competitors, and they're libertarians, and they're giving you their genuine reaction, and they're very impressed with him. And for a libertarian to be impressed with Trump, they have to. A couple different times in that episode, they had to say we're not endorsing Trump, but it's because they had to say that because they had such high comments about him. I think it's an interesting thing. I just want to point that out. Okay. His task, we're back to Kesler. His task, so far at least, has been more to inflame and illuminate these tensions than to resolve them, to expose the growing illegitimacy of the American political establishments, Republican and Democrat, rather than to found new ones to take their place. Okay, so that's an interesting insight right there. Because eventually you're going to have to found something to take their place. So maybe that's not what Trump's role is. Maybe he's training people to do this. Perhaps the significance of this election, however, is that, like the contractor and real estate mogul he once was, Trump has cleared the ground as well as he can and is about to begin the construction phase of his legacy. The defining moments of 2024 race were a mixture of political exposés of his opponents and glimpses of a new majority party aborting the debate with his then opponent Joe Biden, as my colleague Bill Vogley argues in this issue, knocked off the rose-colored glasses through which Dems and the media had viewed Biden hitherto and had insisted the public view him too. Suddenly, the emperor stood revealed as non corpus mentis, not by anything Trump said, though he had some good lines, but by Biden's own sad difficulties, the flight of ideas, as neurologists call it. Then a month later came the first assassination attempt against the former president, and his gutsy, fist-pumping rise from the podium floor in Butler, Pennsylvania. The contrast between the two men, between the setting and rising sun, was unforgettable. Though it took him and his party a while to admit it, Biden was already an ex-president. The shameful failure of the presidential security establishment was also clear for everyone to see. I have to say, it is absolutely shocking and disgusting to me that even with all that, Kamala Harris still did as well as she did. Over 200 electoral college votes. That shows you just how corrupt and degenerated we have become as a country. It shows you how much the universities have gotten away with for so long. It's sickening to me, Republican parents, how excited they are to send their kids to Democrat colleges so they can get their Democrat diploma, their grade inflated diplomas. It's disgusting. I think I'm more disgusted at that than I am by the Democrats. Although it's close. Fries with that. The most delicious moments of the campaign came near the end, when Trump appeared working at a McDonald's franchise and a few days later wearing a high visibility emergency vest and climbing into the cab of a garbage truck. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Hold on a sec. Hold on one sec. I gotta pause it. All right, I'm back. Where was I? Where was I? McDonald's. Biden had, remember this? Biden had Biden had dismissed Trump's supporters as garbage a day before. He didn't mean it, he pleaded, and I almost believed him, Kesler says. His critics dismissed these appearances as stunts, which they were. But the most memorable, amusing, and politically revealing stunts since Calvin Coolidge was photographed wearing an American Indian headdress. Wow. It was a gift to him for signing a law granting U.S. citizenship to Native Americans, another voting bloc that Trump won, incidentally. If Kamala Harris had showed up at a McDonald's, despite or precisely because she had claimed to work at one as a young woman, though which one she could not say, the stunt would have flopped and would have been mocked from coast to coast as surely as Michael Dukakis's notorious ride in a tank in 1988. A well-known consumer of McDonald's fast food, who even served it in the White House, Trump looked right at home working the French fryer and the drive-through window. Wow, how did he pull that off? Well, watch The Apprentice and you might find out. Perhaps the most striking graphic of the election was CNN's map of the United States showing a county-by-county breakdown of the presidential vote tally. Each county was indicated by a small red or blue mountain or Christmas tree if you're thinking seasonally and don't mind the wrong colors. The size varying by percentage of change in the vote for the winning party since 2020. It displayed at a glance the dynamic political topography of the country. Now, unexpected peaks appeared, colored red, and whole mountain ranges upthrust by the tectonic electoral forces at work. CNN reported that of the almost 3,250 counties or their equivalents in America, at least 2,650 shifted more Republican and at least 279 turned more Democratic. That is almost 10 times as many counties voted more Republican than voted more Democratic. A red shift you didn't need a telescope or a spectrometer to notice. In astronomy, a redshift generally indicates that the object is moving farther away from the observer. In politics in 2024, it meant the voters were moving farther away from the Democrats. Incidentally, the light on my hat is the same one as before. It's an Olight S1R Baton 2. It's a wonderful little light, not a paid sponsor. But what I love about this light is it's rechargeable, and if you can clip it on your hat. The hat is a Pizza Port hat from San Clemente. That's what SC means. Not a paid sponsor. I just appreciate their deals on lunch. That's all. San Clemente is a Republican town, by the way, in case you wanted to know. There's a great bookstore right across the street from Pizza Port called Beachtown Books. Not a paid sponsor, but pretty obviously a Republican establishment. I go there quite often. Well, when I say often, I mean like once a quarter or so. Something like that. They have veteran discounts, which is wonderful. Thank you, Beachtown Books, for existing. Support your local book dealer, people. Don't just buy from Democrat Amazon. Come on, guys. Don't be tacky. People at Beachtown Books, they put their capital on the line, man, to make it a place where you can go hold a book in your hand. Pass these suckers on to the next generation. Pizza Port, you can get a lunch for, I think, $7.99. Maybe it's $8.99 now, but it's like $7.99. Pizza, salad, and a drink during the week. Check out Pizza Port. Not a paid sponsor. I'm going to continue. Kesler, Claremont-Review-of-Books, 2024 fall. The Red Shift. This is amazing. This is amazing. Virtually, Kesler continues. Virtually. Oh, good. Getting somebody in the chat says, put it back up on the screen. Virtually the whole country shifted to the red, as Patrick Ruffini and other observers have remarked. Deep blue states like California and New York provided millions more votes for Trump than he'd previously received, helping him to claim a popular majority. He turned Long Island red, winning both Nassau and Suffolk counties. Florida, once a swing state, swung no more, guarded by medium-sized red mountain ranges up and down its Atlantic and Gulf coast. Trump took Miami-Dade County handily, up and down the Rio Grande, at the southern tip of Texas. Towering, skiable red peaks expressed the massive Republican shift in these solidly Hispanic, formerly Democratic strongholds. Wow. What a missed opportunity for the Democrats because of their border ballyhoo crap. Even the Blue Ridge grew redder, and new Appalachian-sized hills sprouted from Tennessee through western New York state and all the way to Maine. Maps cannot tell us, of course, why the red shift was so widespread. Were Americans repelled by the Democrats and their programs, or attracted by the Republicans and their promises? Good question. We know from county and state voting registrars that the Democrats' registration figures had eroded in many states during the Biden years, especially in the battlegrounds in Pennsylvania, for example. The Democratic edge from 2020 to 2024 declined from about 686,000 to 286,000 registered voters. In Arizona, the GOP's edge increased from 94,000 to 295,000. For whatever reason, history was being made. Polls indicated that a greater share of the electorate identified as Republican than as Democrats for the first time since the New Deal, almost a century. Okay, guys, we're going to get to Camilla's Redshift next time. Thanks for joining me on The Republican Professor. It's 6 July 2025. It's a Sunday. I did preach at church today. Talked about the doctrine of the scriptures. I'll talk to you later. Have a good night.